Let's talk about something that completely changed the world we live in. Second wave feminism. You might not have heard that name before, but this movement fought for fairness in ways that actually affect your life right now, from the classes you take in school to the jobs you can dream of having one day. So let's get into it. To really get why this was such a big deal, I want you to think about this question. Imagine it's 1960. You've got a job you absolutely love. Could you be fired just for getting pregnant? The answer, shockingly, was yes. And that was just one of the reasons that sparked a revolution. So, what exactly was second wave feminism? Well, it wasn't just one protest or a single event. It was this huge, decades-long push for some really big changes in society. We're basically looking at the period from the early 1960s to the late 1980s. This was a super active time. You had major laws being passed in the mid-60s, a huge change to schools in '72. It was just a constant period of transformation. Now, you've probably heard about the first wave of feminism, right? That's the movement that won women the right to vote. But here's the thing. Getting the vote didn't magically fix every other problem. Women still faced all these barriers in their daily lives, which is why a second wave was so important. They wanted to go after the unfair rules at work, in school, and even at home. All right, let's start with something you know well, school. Before this whole movement, school looked totally different for girls than it did for boys. And the fight for equality right here unlocked brand new futures for millions of young women. Can you imagine being told that science and math just aren't for you? Girls were often pushed into classes like home economics, and if you wanted to play sports, forget about it. Most schools had hardly any teams for girls. The careers they were told to aim for were super limited, mostly preparing them for a life inside the home, not out in the world. And then, in 1972, came a total game changer, Title IX. It's a U.S. law, and it's actually pretty simple. It says that any school that gets money from the government cannot discriminate based on sex. That means you can't be kept out of a class, a club, or a sports team just because you're a girl or a boy. So simple, but so powerful. The effect was almost immediate. Schools now had to provide the same level of funding and opportunities for everyone. And that led to this massive explosion in girls' sports. Suddenly, there were all these new chances to learn about teamwork, to build confidence, and even to get college scholarships, things that just weren't on the table for their mom's generation. Okay, so the fight for fairness moved from the classroom right into the workplace. And this was a huge part of the movement, taking on some really big economic injustices. It's kind of hard to believe now, but it was totally normal back then. You could literally pick up a newspaper and see a job ad that said men only. And like we talked about, getting pregnant was a perfectly legal reason for your boss to fire you. This wasn't hidden. It was just how things were done. And even if a woman got a job and managed to keep it, she faced another enormous problem. And this number really says it all. 60 cents. 60 cents. That's what a woman earned on average for every single dollar a man made for doing the exact same job. Think about that. Same skills, same hours, same hard work, but way less pay. This made it incredibly tough for women to ever be financially independent. So people fought back. Activists pushed hard for new laws, and they got a major victory with the Equal Pay Act of 1963. Its purpose was crystal clear: make it illegal for a boss to pay a man more than a woman for doing the same work. This was a really foundational step toward fairness in the workplace. Now, this movement went even deeper than school and jobs. It started to challenge the very idea of what a woman's role in society was supposed to be. It was all about creating a life that went beyond the four walls of the home. For a long time, the message society sent was pretty narrow. It said a woman's main job was to be a wife and a mother, that her true happiness would come from cooking and cleaning. This didn't leave a lot of room for personal dreams, for a career, or even for having control over your own health. The second wave came back with a completely new vision, a vision where a woman could have a fulfilling career, could build her own independent identity, could share chores at home fairly, and, this is a big one, could have control over her own body and her own health decisions. This all comes down to a really important concept called personal autonomy. It sounds a little academic, but all it means is the freedom to make your own decisions about your life, your future, your career, your body, without having to get permission from anybody else. This was a central goal of the whole movement. So what does all this history have to do with you right now in the world you live in? Well, the impact of this movement is absolutely everywhere you look.
Let's just do a quick recap of the legacy here. First, they challenged old ideas. Then they passed powerful new laws. They kicked open doors in schools and in sports. They fought for fairness at work. And all of that together shaped the world that we all know today.
And here's the bottom line. Because of the hard work and the fights that these women went through, it is now totally normal to see women as doctors, engineers, astronauts, CEOs, literally anything they want to be. The opportunities you have today were won by them.
And that brings us to one last thought. These activists opened millions of doors that had been locked shut for centuries. So the question for you is, with all those doors wide open, which ones are you going to walk through? What are you going to build?